With Hannah Storm, I'm Jay Harris. NBA analyst Tim Legler is in the house.
And it's Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
So Puxatawny Phil emerged from his hole and immediately demanded a trade. He is sick of that kid. Sick of it. Sick of it.
That's great.
Anyway, he didn't see his shadow, so theoretically spring. In theory.
Yes.
All right. James Harden and the Rockets taking on fellow All-Star Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets in Denver, and Harden being guarded by Paul Millsap in the early going and just drives right by him here.
A tough matchup. You get the switch out for a power forward, and you have to stay up on your toes because of that step-back three, and he uses his crossover to get to the rim. And in the days of switching, you can pick anybody you want to guard you on any possession, and Harden, once Jokic hits the three over him.
Yep, drives in, gets by three defenders here, Tim.
That's beautiful. It looks like he's playing hopscotch. I mean, there's a little extra right at the end, maybe one extra step. That's okay, though. NBA doesn't really care too much about that these days.
There you go. Meanwhile, though, the Nuggets had it all going on. Look at that.
Torrey Craig, Beasley, Morris, these guys were unbelievable. We know Jokic is the main show, and they run everything through him, but what a great contribution he got out of that supporting cast. Young, fresh legs. These guys are getting up and down the floor. Houston had no answer.
Yeah, Craig with a career-high 22. As you saw, Beasley, a career-high 35. And here's Jokic, helping the Nuggets score 83 in the first half.
Yeah, it's not flashy. It's just ABC effective. That's all Jokic does. He kills you with skill. One of the most versatile bigs we have in the game, and has another huge night.
So here comes Harden checking in. He only had 6 points in the second and the third quarters. Now, remember, he had the string of 24 straight 30-point games coming in, and he's blocked here. He's still sitting at 27 at this point in the game.
Yeah, and it's a little strange to me that he was in the game at that stretch, because right now, obviously, the only thing that's left to be determined is, will he get to 30? And I don't know if you want a guy that's having an MVP-type season out there at this stage of the game, but James Harden still has one more opportunity to get it.
And with just over a minute left, he finally does.
Yeah, and I give him credit because this is an incredibly difficult shot. The step back, the defender goes by, but he's still right behind you, and it's like James Harden is unfazed by people on his shooting hand, and he gets the three to go and keeps that streak alive.
25 straight games. I mean, this has been going since mid-December that he's had 30-plus point games as he continues to climb up the charts there. Meanwhile, how about the Nuggets? 36-15 off to their best 51-game start since the merger. Is that possible? It's the playoffs that have been unkind to Denver, as we all know, still looking for their first NBA Finals appearance. Jay?
Hannah, Kyrie Irving and the Celtics facing the Knicks at MSG. Knicks potential suitor for Kyrie this summer. Here is what Mr. Irving had to say about that before the game.
I mean, I respect the Knicks organization. Obviously, they're making moves to position themselves for this upcoming summer. So, I wish them the best. I spent the last 8 years trying to do what everybody else wanted me to do in terms of making my decisions and trying to validate through the media, through other personnel, managers, anybody in this business, and I don't owe anybody.
Okay. What'd you read into that, Tim?
He sounded a little ambiguous the other day when talking about Boston. He's opened the door for whatever distractions come his way. It's easy to deflect any questions about free agency right now. Just focus on the season. He opened the door for it, so he's going to have to deal with the repercussions of that.
Yeah, big cheers from the MSG crowd, and Kyrie's like, hey, okay, I'm just going to do my thing.
Well, nobody doubts his talent. There's no wonder they would want him in New York right now. What else do they have after that Porzingis trade? You've got Dennis Smith moving forward, and who knows what else. So, sure, you want Kyrie.
His first dunk of the season, and the Knicks want Kyrie in the third quarter. Fans making it plain, Tim. GM Scott Perry and President Steve Mills, like, okay.
It's the new world order in the NBA, man. You know.
Oh, look at that.
So much instability where these guys are going to be from year to year.
The hug from
Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Here's Kyrie after the game.
It's nothing but a distraction at this point. So, like I said, I'm appreciative of the fan support I get in the arena. But, of course, coming back home, obviously what's going on in terms of that noise and commentary is just a bunch of nonsense right now, Can't do anything about it. So I'm just accepting, I'm appreciative, but at the same time, I got a game to focus on.
You did hear the chants, Kyrie?
Are you reaching for it right now?
No, I couldn't hear everything.
Everybody heard it. Come on, man. I have a focus in winning a championship this year, and that's where my focus is going to stay. So, you know, even me saying something like that is not concrete enough for anybody.
Oh, wow, okay. Let's go to the other big news. So ahead of Thursday's trade deadline, the Lakers pursue Pelicans center Anthony Davis. League sources tell ESPN the Lakers' first offer was Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Rajon Rondo, Michael Beasley, and a first-round pick. And the Pelicans call that underwhelming. As they regroup, here's NBA insider Adrian Wojnarowski.
Your starting point in these kinds of talks, especially for a player of Anthony Davis' stature, would be, you know, most of your good young players and multiple first-round picks. And the Pelicans haven't got an offer yet, I'm told, that includes more than one first-round pick or salary cap relief, which means an offer to take on, you know, some contracts you might not want. You know, there is a immense gap between what the Pelicans expect to be able to get for Anthony Davis and what the Lakers are offering. They made offers on Paul George in Indiana. They made offers on Kawhi Leonard last year in San Antonio. And so far, the Lakers are following the pattern that they did with George and Leonard. And we know the results of both those negotiations. They didn't get the players in trades. The players went elsewhere. There is pressure to get a deal done from the Lakers side, from Anthony Davis' side, to get this done before Thursday, knowing that if they get into the offseason, the Celtics can come, you know, with a much bigger arsenal of assets, young players, draft picks to get at Anthony Davis. And listen, it's a negotiation. There's still time until Thursday, but I'm told that New Orleans hasn't seen anything yet that would even cause them to counter. They haven't treated the offer seriously.
So, as Woj mentioned, the Lakers have plenty of young players to offer to the Pelicans, along with all the future first-round draft picks. Tim Legler is coming back later on SportsCenter with more on the potentially changing landscape of the NBA.
We want Kyrie. No. That's not what we're chanting. I walked in this morning and I was like, we want Legler. And look who showed up. Matt, Nicole, Tim Legler.
Leg day. SportsCenter.
Don't skip it.
Who wants it? Let's talk a little bit of streaking with James Harden. You knew the storyline coming in, legs, 24 straight games of at least 30 points. Against the Nuggets. Nuggets, a good basketball team. Harden had to put in some work last night, courtesy of Nikola Jokic, who also had a good game. More on that in a minute. Early in the first, Harden was doing his thing, being guarded by Paul Millsap up top, and then he was able to create his own play.
Yeah, I mean, the step-back three obviously gets you up on your toes. As a defender, he's already being guarded by a power forward, so that's when you cross him up. Get to the rim here. He gets the matchup he wants to switch. Big guy can't get out there. Harden hot early again.
And then drives in and gets three Nuggets defenders to put in the bucket. This is what he was doing all night.
Look like he was playing hopscotch. I mean, look, on this one, there might have been a little extra something in there. But look, it's the combination of the physical strength to finish at the rim and then that shooting ability. That's what makes him so great.
Rockets led by 8 after 1. And then some role players. Torrey Craig, a big night.
Role players lit them up. Torrey Craig's energy, you see him high flying at the rim, but then he's also knocking down threes in transition. You had Malik Beasley, Morris, you name it. The Nuggets role players understood Houston was not in a defensive mindset, and those guys took advantage.
So how about Craig, a career-high 22 points, Beasley, a career-high 35 points, and then you know Jokic is going to eventually get involved.
It's built around him. I call the middle of the floor from the top of the key to the middle lane, Jokic Boulevard. He operates in that area of the floor unlike any player I've ever seen. Skill set dominated Houston.
So then late in the game, they were going to get this thing done, so we had to start streak watching. Harden here gets blocked by Craig, would get it back, and then get the assist to Kenneth Faried.
Yeah, it felt a little bit like they were thinking about this streak here at the end of the game, down 15, 20 points with a couple minutes to go. You still got to be good enough to make shots, but James Harden turns it over a couple times here late.
So is the streak going to end? I mean, we're down to a minute and a half in the game, and it was just over a minute left. Legs, I mean, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, P.J. Tucker turns down a corner three, gives it back to Harden. A little up fake. Defender goes by. This is an incredibly difficult shot when the guy is coming from behind you. It's so distracting, but I guess not for James Harden, who gets that 30 again.
So the streak lives 136-102, 122. The Nuggets beat the Rockets. They snap a 9-game losing streak against Houston. It wasn't pretty, but the streak lives. 25th consecutive game, tying Wilt Chamberlain for the third longest streak in NBA history, as Harden still trails 2 of Wilt's other streaks from the 1960s. Tonight, Harden will look to make it 26 straight games against the Jazz. Now, Jokic, we had mentioned him in the highlights, led the Nuggets with a monster year, but he's been really, really good since January 1st. Jokic is the third best player efficiency rating in the NBA, just slightly behind Anthony Davis and James Harden.
So we also had this game last night at MSG between the Celtics and the Knicks, and you get Kyrie Irving, who is a free agent this summer. And I think he has forgotten what he said just a few months ago about staying with Boston.
I mean, I respect the Knicks organization. Obviously, they're making moves to position themselves for this upcoming summer. So, you know, I wish them the best. I spent the last 8 years trying to do what everybody else wanted me to do in terms of making my decisions and trying to validate through the media, through other personnel, managers, anybody in this business, and I don't owe anybody.
I'd like to remind you about a couple of things, but this isn't about me, this is about him. And he got a warm welcome at MSG. It was like a big warm welcome hug from the fans. What did they see from Kyrie?
Well, one of the most dynamic offensive talents in the game, and he's done it on the biggest stage as well. You know how electrifying this guy can be. He's almost unguardable with the combination of handle and range. So right now, the Knicks, of course, they're going to want Kyrie. They want anybody right now because it's basically Dennis Smith and nobody else going forward until they land a couple of free agents. So that's why Kyrie got the reception that he did.
And he's not a dunker. By the way, that was his first dunk of the season. 23 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, and a lovely little chant. I know it's pure speculation, but at this point, like, what is your gut telling you? Are those guys actually going to make legit moves to build a team around these guys at this point?
My gut says no. I think it makes a lot more sense for Kevin Durant to want to change more than Kyrie.
113-99. Celtics win.
It's nothing but a distraction at this point. So, you know, like I said, I'm appreciative of the fan support I get in the arena. But, of course, coming back home, obviously what's going on in terms of that noise and commentary is just a bunch of nonsense right now. You know, can't do anything about it. So I'm just accepting, I'm appreciative, but at the same time I got a game to focus on.
You did hear the chants, Kyrie?
Are you reaching for it right now?
No, I couldn't hear everything.
Everybody heard it. Like, come on, man. Like, come on, man. I have a focus in winning the championship this year, and that's where my focus is going to stay. So, you know, even me saying something like that is not concrete enough for anybody.
All right, moving on. Let me make you an offer you can totally refuse, which is what the Lakers did with the Pelicans in exchange for Anthony Davis, Lonzo Ball, Kyle Kuzma, Rajon Rondo, Michael Beasley, and a first-round pick. That's according to our Adrian Wojnarowski. Now, the NBA trade deadline is February the 7th, so this coming week. The Pelicans haven't countered, which means, Lakers, it's still your move. You got to do better.
Your starting point in these kinds of talks, especially for a player of Anthony Davis' stature, would be, you know, most of your good young players and multiple first-round picks. And the Pelicans haven't got an offer yet, I'm told, that includes more than one first-round pick or salary cap relief, which means an offer to take on, you know, some contracts you might not want. You know, there is a immense gap between what the Pelicans expect to be able to get for Anthony Davis and what the Lakers are offering. They made offers on Paul George in Indiana. They made offers on Kawhi Leonard last year in San Antonio. And so far, the Lakers are following the pattern that they did with George and Leonard. And we know the results of both those negotiations. They didn't get the players in trades. The players went elsewhere. There is pressure to get a deal done from the Lakers side, from Anthony Davis' side, to get this done before Thursday. Knowing that if they get into the offseason, the Celtics can come, you know, with a much bigger arsenal of assets, young players, draft picks to get at Anthony Davis. And listen, it's a negotiation. There's still time until Thursday, but I'm told that New Orleans hasn't seen anything yet that would even cause them to counter. They haven't treated the offer seriously.
And I can't say that I blame them. I mean, look at this. Anthony Davis is #1 in player efficiency rating this season. And then you look at the Lakers' assets. You've got Kyle Kuzma. He ranks the highest among them, 137. And then you got guys like Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and Josh Hart. They're not even in the top 200.
Yeah, I don't know that trade is balanced. Tim Legler with us. You heard his voice a second ago. We heard Kyrie in the highlight. There's a lot of things with him in New York. What about this entire Kyrie Irving situation as a head-scratcher to you?
Because you think about why he left Cleveland, right? He wanted to get out of the shadow of LeBron James and prove that he could take his own franchise places, right? So he gets out of the shadow of another great player. He goes to Boston. He's around one of the best front offices, one of the best head coaches, plenty of talent around him. He's set up to contend for the next 5 to 6 years in Boston. He can get more money there than anywhere else. And he says he might, and he doesn't say this, but the speculation is maybe he wants to go to New York, the worst team in the league, one of the worst front offices in the league. Fizdale's a pretty good coach, and again go into the shadow of another guy if Kevin Durant comes there. I do not understand that whatsoever. And I don't want to hear the whole, well, he's from North Jersey. Like, that's where he's from. Who cares? You can go live there if you want to when you're done playing. This is what we thought Kyrie wanted. This situation in Boston, exactly how it's set up for him. I think it's starting to look like he has a hard time leading these guys. He's frustrated with leading the young players. Right, he's frustrated with it, the process. Is he more comfortable riding sidecar like he was with LeBron? Is he more comfortable riding sidecar? Because that's what he would be again with Kevin Durant, because make no mistake about it, that would be Kevin Durant's show if he goes to New York and joins Kyrie Irving. Now, that's a lot of speculation. Who knows what those guys are going to do? It makes more sense for me to think about KD leaving Golden State and go to New York than it does Kyrie leaving Boston to go there.
I just want to remind you that we are talking about a guy who dug his heels on the fact that the earth is flat.
It's hard to get inside that noggin, what Kyrie's thinking.
Tim is back. That's him. I'm Nicole. The other guy over at this table is Matt. I like your jacket today.
Thank you. Does it come off as purple on air?
I don't know. Kind of does in person, too.
Can't tell because we're here.
The Thunder have won 6 straight, taking on the Heat. And this combination of Russell Westbrook and Paul George, that kind of works, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. They've got tremendous chemistry. I think there's a trust factor between these two that Russell Westbrook at times, I think, had a hard time finding with Kevin Durant. And that's why Paul George is having the best year of his career.
Why do you think that is?
I think because Russell Westbrook is not threatened by Paul George in any way. I felt that there was a competition between those two other stars. And closing out games is a problem because of that. But Russell Westbrook inherently trusts Paul George, lets him have his runs when he gets hot. And Dennis Schroeder, by the way, how hot has he been?
He was perfect in the second.
And he had 18 points in the fourth quarter of the game before, 24 in the second quarter of this one. That's 42 points in less than a half of basketball.
That's some good math. He didn't even need a calculator for that one. I want to tell you that Paul George had 43 points, also had a career-high 10 3-pointers, and it was another triple-double for that guy, Russell Westbrook, 14 points, 14 assists, and 12 rebounds. The Thunder have the NBA's current longest winning streak at 7 games.
Yeah, it matches their season high as well. And again, Paul George triggering that best year of his career. I think he's already he's going to be a nominee for Defensive Player of the Year. But now he's in this shooting mode where every time it comes off his fingertips, I expect it to go in from deep. And Russell Westbrook more than willing to share the burden. He enjoys getting the help.
118-102, their 7th win in a row. Thunder play the Celtics Sunday afternoon, by the way. This is the 41st time that Russell Westbrook was able to do the triple-double thing in just the first 3 quarters of the game. I'm not sure I need to tell you this, but that is by far the most in the NBA over the last 20 years. James Harden is number 2 on the list, 12 compared to 41. Paul George is an MVP candidate, and if he's not, I'm sorry, there's something wrong. He's averaging north of 30 points per game in the last 30 games. That is the longest he has gone in his career. As like just said, it's a career year for him. And last night was the 3rd time this season that George dropped at least 40 to go with a Westbrook triple-double in the same game. They're only the 4th set of teammates ever to do that at least 3 times in one season.
Talk about the Hawks and Jazz legs. Do you believe Rudy Gobert was an all-star snub?
Absolutely. I think that when you look at the impact, and sometimes the numbers don't reflect that statistically in a box score, when you look at the impact in winning, Rudy Gobert deserves to be there. Unfortunately, it's an offensive-minded game and selection.
Yeah, Gobert leads the league in contested shots with 676. He was emotional when he found out he wasn't going to be in the All-Star game, and he should be. And then this is what he can do as well.
Yeah, I'd be emotional, too, if it cost me $1 million. I think I'd cry, too, because that's what it cost him by not getting selected for that team.
The system is flawed.
Yeah, well, we could do a whole segment on that. We'll do that on Monday or Tuesday. 8 minutes left in the 4th quarter. Gobert. Merely just saying the show's packed today, Briscoe. That's it.
You could see the daggers.
I mean, it wasn't shots fired. It was like, hey, show's packed. Gobert leads league in field goal percentage.
That for you on